The bird that never forgets your face. Crow. Why do crows sometimes bring gifts to humans and remember the faces of people who hurt them for years? Most people think of crows as ordinary black birds, creatures that sit on telephone wires, scream in the distance, and search through trash cans looking for food. To many, they are symbols of bad luck, darkness, or death. But scientists now believe these birds may be among the most intelligent animals on Earth. Some researchers even compare their intelligence to primates. And once you learn what crows are truly capable of, it becomes difficult to look at them the same way again. Because crows do something that feels almost impossible for a bird. They remember human faces. Not for days, not for weeks, for years. And if a crow decides you are dangerous, it may never forgive you. The story begins in Seattle, where scientists at the University of Washington conducted a strange experiment. Researchers wore realistic masks while capturing and tagging wild crows for scientific study. The birds hated it. They screamed, fought back, and eventually flew away after being released. The scientists assumed the crows would simply forget. They were wrong. Days later, whenever someone wearing the same mask walked through the area, crows began dive-bombing them from the sky. They screamed loudly, followed them through streets, and warned other birds nearby. Years passed. The crows still remembered. Even stranger, young crows that had never seen the original event also began attacking people wearing the mask. Somehow, information about the dangerous human had spread through generations. Scientists realized something terrifying. Crows weren't just remembering faces, they were teaching others who to fear. That discovery changed the way researchers viewed bird intelligence forever. But memory is only the beginning. Crows are also famous for stealing objects from humans, especially shiny ones. Rings, coins, keys, earrings, necklaces. In cities around the world, people have reported missing jewelry only to discover crows carrying it away. At first, scientists believed the birds were simply attracted to shiny surfaces, but later observations suggested something more complicated. Sometimes, crows bring objects back. There are stories of people who regularly fed crows and later found strange gifts left behind. Buttons, small pieces of metal, lost earrings, tiny toys. One little girl reportedly fed crows in her backyard every day, and over time the birds began leaving shiny trinkets near her home as if they were trading with her. No one knows exactly why they do it. Some scientists believe crows may understand the concept of exchange. Others think the birds simply form social bonds and offer objects the way humans offer gifts. But either explanation is extraordinary, because it suggests crows may see relationships with humans differently than we ever imagined. In Japan, crows have learned something even more shocking. They use cars as tools. In busy cities, researchers observed crows placing hard walnuts directly onto roads at intersections. Then they waited patiently in nearby trees. Cars would drive over the walnuts and crack them open. Once the traffic light turned red and vehicles stopped, the crows calmly walked onto the street and collected the food. The birds had learned how traffic systems worked. They understood timing. They understood danger. And they adapted their behavior to use human technology for survival. That level of problem solving stunned scientists around the world. But crows are not only intelligent, they are social, extremely social. A crow almost never forgets another crow it knows. They communicate constantly using different calls, body movements, and even what some researchers describe as regional dialects. A crow from one area may sound slightly different from a crow living hundreds of miles away. Some scientists believe crows may even have something similar to names. When one crow calls out, specific birds respond while others ignore it. Researchers are still trying to understand whether these calls identify individuals the way human names do. And then there is the strangest behavior of all: crow funerals. When a crow dies, nearby crows gather around the body, sometimes dozens of them. They become quiet, watchful, careful. For years, people believed this looked almost like mourning. Scientists studied the behavior more closely and discovered something fascinating. The crows were learning. By gathering around dead members of their group, they were trying to understand what caused the danger. Was there a predator nearby? A human? Poison? The gathering helped them survive. But even knowing this, many researchers admit the behavior still feels emotional, especially when you watch it happen. And emotions may play a larger role in crow intelligence than we once thought. In laboratory tests, crows have demonstrated signs of planning for the future, a skill once believed unique to humans and apes. In one experiment, crows were taught to use a specific tool to get food from a machine. Later, the tool was removed. Hours afterward, when given access to several random objects, the crows selected the correct tool and saved it for future use. They understood they would need it later. That means crows may be capable of future planning, something many animals cannot do. But perhaps the most incredible stories come from people who live alongside them every day. Some crows have learned to imitate human speech, not as clearly as parrots, but enough to shock people hearing it for the first time. There are recordings of crows saying words like hello, hi, and even laughing like humans. Others appear to communicate intentionally with people. In one famous case, a wild crow regularly visited a man who rescued it after an injury. Every morning, the bird waited outside his house and made specific sounds until he came outside. Neighbors claimed the crow followed him around like a dog. Then there are the stories that sound almost impossible. People report crows leaving gifts after being fed, protecting certain humans, warning owners about strangers, and, in rare cases, attacking people who previously harmed them years earlier. One wildlife researcher described a crow that recognized him after nearly a decade. 10 years. For a bird, that kind of memory is extraordinary. So, how intelligent are crows really? Some scientists now believe crow intelligence rivals that of great apes in certain tasks. Despite having tiny brains compared to mammals, the neuron density inside a crow's brain is incredibly high. In some ways, their brains process information more efficiently than ours. And unlike humans, crows evolved this intelligence independently. That means nature created advanced intelligence twice, once in primates and once in birds, which raises a disturbing possibility. If crows are this intelligent, what do they think about us? Every day, crows watch humans from rooftops, trees, and power lines. They observe traffic patterns. They recognize faces. They learn routines. They communicate information to one another. And they remember. Always remember. Some researchers believe crows may understand cause and effect better than most animals. Others think they may possess forms of social intelligence humans are only beginning to understand. But perhaps the most unsettling thing about crows is not their intelligence. It's how familiar that intelligence feels. Because when a crow recognizes a human face, teaches its children who to trust, brings gifts to someone it likes, and punishes someone it fears, its behavior begins to feel less like instinct and more like thought, like personality, like intention, like something staring back at us from behind black feathers and dark eyes. But the deeper scientists studied crows, the stranger the discoveries became. Researchers began designing puzzles that were supposed to challenge the birds for days. Some crows solved them within minutes. In one experiment, food was placed inside a transparent tube partially filled with water. The only way to reach the floating food was to raise the water level. One by one, the crows dropped stones into the tube until the food floated high enough to grab. It sounded almost impossible, yet the birds understood the solution almost immediately. This shocked scientists because the task required understanding cause and effect, something once believed to exist mainly in humans and apes. But crows kept going even further. In another test, crows bent pieces of wire into hooks to retrieve food from containers. They created tools on their own without being taught. That meant they were not simply copying behavior, they were inventing solutions. And perhaps the creepiest part of all is how they watch humans while doing it. Many crow researchers describe the same unsettling feeling, the sense that the bird is studying them just as carefully as they are studying the bird. Watching, learning, remembering patterns. Some people who regularly feed crows claim the birds eventually begin arriving at the exact same time every day. Others say specific crows wait for certain humans and ignore everyone else. There are even reports of crows bringing their babies to humans they trust, almost as if introducing them. Scientists still debate how much of this behavior is instinct and how much is true social understanding. But one thing is certain: crows are far more aware than humans once believed. And maybe that explains why these birds appear so often in myths and legends throughout history. In ancient cultures, crows and ravens were seen as messengers between worlds. In some stories, they represented wisdom. In others, death. Vikings associated ravens with the god Odin, whose birds were said to fly across the world collecting information for him. Perhaps humans sensed something unusual about them long before science could explain it. Because there is something deeply unsettling about an animal that looks at humans not with fear, but with recognition. A creature that learns our faces, studies our habits, communicates with its own kind, and possibly judges us based on our actions. So the next time you notice a crow staring down from a rooftop or tree branch, don't dismiss it as just another bird. Because somewhere behind those dark eyes may exist a mind intelligent enough to remember exactly who you are, and maybe even tell the others about you.